A wonderful morning to everyone who has joined today's webinar. From ManageEngine family, we would like to extend our warm welcome and sincere thanks to all our customers, partners, and users who are interested in our solutions. Endpoint management and security is one of the main focus areas of ManageEngine. In today's webinar, we will focus on endpoint management solution, which has different portfolios under management and security. During today's training, we'll be discussing Desktop Central Suite, which has management and security capabilities. Once again, I welcome you all to Desktop Central training program. Let me introduce myself. My name is Danya, and I'm a product specialist with ManageEngine. I take care of endpoint management products, including Desktop Central. I'm a seasoned technical support engineer, assisting customers in their implementation, consultation, and troubleshooting in case of challenges. Now, let's look at the training schedule. We are on week 2 of season 17, which is software deployment. This is one of the modules of our endpoint management and security suite. We had patch management last week. In case if you have missed our last training schedule, you can always view them on the link which is shown at the bottom of the screen. If you are interested in the upcoming training, please use the same link to register yourself. Let's look at software deployment today. Let me quickly talk about the agenda. So we will have an overview of Desktop Central. Then we'll be having a look at the architecture behind how Desktop Central works. And with regards to software deployment, which is what today's session is about, we will look at some scenarios, including how to deploy a commercial and a non-commercial application. Then, how to help the end users to install software themselves using a feature called self-service portal. We will also discuss some of the frequently asked questions with respect to software deployment at the end of session. During training, if you have any questions, please feel free to use the chat option. I have an expert panel with me who are ready to answer all your questions. We will be using Desktop Central Server with build version 10.0420 for this presentation. And this is the latest version, which is supported in all the browsers. Now, let's start with Desktop Central. What is Desktop Central? It's an endpoint management solution that ensures all the endpoints are secure and enable the users to use them effectively in their business. A popular research analyst called Forrester defines UEM as follows. Product that provide a centralized policy engine for managing employee laptops and mobile devices from a single console. In unified endpoint management, you can manage endpoints in traditional IT management fashion. This includes patch management, application management, configuration deployment, OS deployment, tools for troubleshooting, and other day-to-day management activities. Similarly, endpoints can also be managed with modern management. All modern operating systems support modern management. It supports features like geo-tracking, geo-fencing, managing your store applications, profile distribution to enhance the restrictions, operating system reset, and recovery. Can you guys guess the popular operating system When I say modern operating system, Windows 10. It's a classic example in which we can manage both traditional and modern management. Desktop Central can manage both the worlds, traditional and modern, from a single console. Hence, with Desktop Central Unified Endpoint Management, you will be able to manage desktops, laptops, mobile phones and tablets, servers, point-of-sale devices, and browsers. All this from a single console. Desktop Central is recognized for Best Unified Endpoint Management Tool of 2019, as reviewed by customers in Gartner Peer Insight Customer's Choice Award. We are recognized in the Magic Quadrant for the second consecutive year. We are recognized for both traditional and modern management. Now let's have a look at the UEM features. So these are the features that you can leverage when you are using Desktop Central as a unified endpoint management solution. We have patch management, which takes care of operating system and third-party application patching. We have application management, asset management, configurations. In fact, if you're following our training schedule, we will talk about all these separately in our next sequence. You can manage other functions, including mobile device management for Windows, iOS, Android, and Chromebooks. Then we have modern management, which is for Windows and Mac machines. You can perform things like geo-tracking, complete wipe, corporate wipe. You can put the devices on kiosk mode. You can distribute the store apps and manage profile distribution. Then we have OS deployment, which is a hardware-independent deployment where you'll be able to create single master image and deploy it to multiple machines. These are the features offered within Desktop Central Unified Endpoint Management Suite. Let's have a look at the architecture of Desktop Central now. Desktop Central is a client-server model application, and it's an on-premise solution. You can have the Desktop Central server hosted in any one of the supported operating systems. This architecture talks about how you can manage a local area network. When it comes to wide area network, you can manage different remote locations from a single console. They can connect either over internet or using a VPN or MPLS connections. For the machines that are present on the remote site, which are connected over direct internet connection, you can use a component called Secure Gateway. A secure gateway is a server that bridges the agent traffic to the central server securely when they connect over internet. When it comes to remote locations, we have a component called Distribution Server, which is used to throttle the bandwidth for the data traffic between the central server and the remote locations. We will talk about this in detail as we go into the training. We can choose to have machines communicate either directly with Desktop Central or through the distribution server. You will be able to manage all your mobile devices using a secure gateway. With Desktop Central, you can manage multiple domains as well as work groups. Once you configure your Active Directory with Desktop Central, you can deploy configurations targeting Active Directory groups or organizational units. So this is the architecture of how Desktop Central works. Even if you have a closed network architecture like this, you can still use Desktop Central to manage your endpoints. Desktop Central is also available on Microsoft Azure and AWS Marketplace. In case if you are looking out to host Desktop Central in any one of the cloud server, you can use AWS or Azure for now. We are also working towards offering Desktop Central as a cloud solution. Soon, Desktop Central will be available in Zoho Cloud. Now, what are the components that you need to run this application? These are the essential as well as optional components. The Desktop Central server is the central component that you will install. It provides the interface to the management console. The agent is also an essential component. You need this to be installed on the machine that you want to manage. There is another component called notification server, and this is a major component. We will talk more about this in our upcoming slides. When we look at the optional components, we have distribution server, which serves as a repository for patches, softwares, and script that you have deployed to the machine in the remote office. We can create unique replication policies for each location as per the bandwidth requirement and associate it with the distribution server. Then we have a secure gateway server. This is useful if you are going to manage machines that are not a part of your local area network or for the machines connecting over internet. We also have a failover server. In case if you want to have high availability, you can make use of this. This is separately licensed component. And you can also use a language pack to list the web console in your preferred regional language. We support 3 major operating systems for now: Windows, Mac, as well as Linux. These are the list of operating systems that is supported. Primarily, the Desktop Central server runs on Windows platform, but you can manage endpoints that have Windows or Mac or Linux flavors by installing a Desktop Central agents to them. In case if you have any questions regarding the OS support, you can always reach out to our support team. Please refer to the email address which is shown at the bottom of the screen to reach the support team. This is a client-server model application, right? So which means you need to have the agent installed in all your endpoints in order to manage them. So to facilitate the agent installation, we have 3 different methods. First is via group policy startup script in your Active Directory. You can simply download the application setup and push it using a GPU. We do have an automatic agent installation directly from the web console. You can add multiple domains and choose the machines from those domains and push out the agent to them. We also have scripts that you can use to install the agent. You can download the agent manually and execute the setup directly on the machines. And it should then automatically report back to the server on successful installation. So we will be talking about this agent installation in greater detail in our upcoming training sessions. So please do register for that. Desktop Central can scale small as well as large networks using our 90 minutes refresh policy. So what is 90 minutes refresh policy? Every agent communicates with Desktop Central server once in 90 minutes. Even if you have 90 machines or 900 or even 9,000 machines, the 90 minutes will be divided between them equally, and each machine will be given a specific time to talk to the server. The server has the intelligence to assign a time for each client to talk to the server. This is to avoid network congestion or cause bandwidth related issues. So the 90 minutes refresh policy is designed in such a way that the load to the server will be split evenly. These are the ports that require to be open and bound on the server machine for proper functioning. So Desktop Central primarily runs on two ports, 8383, the HTTPS 8020 HTTP port. All the agents talk to the server using this port. There is another port, 8027, which is a TCP. This is used by the notification server. This port is used for all on-demand activities like initiating a PAT scan or an asset scan, remote control, and for immediate deployments. We will talk about the use case of this port in our upcoming slides. Apart from these two ports, there are other optional ports that you need to open. The important ports are listed on the screen. You can keep the respective ports open as per your requirement. There are a few other ports as well. You can view them using the link which is shown at the bottom of the screen. This will give you a better idea about the ports that are required. Now, why software deployment is essential for an enterprise? As an IT administrator, if you need to install applications on many computers, it will be a tedious process. So a centralized software distribution solution is required to automate and deploy applications to the machine in your network remotely. Then, to reduce the software deployment related help desk ticket, a solution is required. Also, to handle the frequently released software updates, an automated solution is mandatory in an enterprise. Desktop Central can handle all the mentioned scenarios. Desktop Central have 6,000 plus predefined templates to create software packages for all three flavors which we support. So we'll discuss in detail on the templates once we get into the product. Now let's get familiarized with the architecture of how software deployment works with Desktop Central. Using Desktop Central, software can be deployed to your local area network as well as wide area network. Most important thing to deploy a software is to have a package created in first place. To store that package, Desktop Central offers two different types of repositories, which is network share and HTTP repository. If the storage method chosen is network share for deployment, then the client machine will reach the share location and execute the installable files from there. You need to ensure that the share should be accessible from all the client computers. The other one here is HTTP or HTTPS repository, which is more appropriate for deploying software to wide area network. The package which you create by uploading an installables from your local computer and the package which you create from a software template of Desktop Central is downloaded to this HTTP or HTTPS repository. These packages from the HTTP repository is downloaded to the client computers in LAN for deployment, and when it comes to WAN, wide area network, the distribution server here will do the download and distribute the package to respective clients. Why do we need two different repositories? Here is the comparison to explain that. Network share is more suited for LAN, where there is no limit to the package size you deploy. Whereas using HTTP or HTTPS repository, you can deploy software to LAN as well as WAN. Up to 7 gig package can be uploaded to the HTTP repository. If you want to deploy a package more than 7 gig to a remote site, you can reach to our support. We will helping you with an alternate workaround to achieve that. And network share requires setup and maintenance because it is easily vulnerable to threats if not maintained properly. Whereas HTTP repository doesn't require such maintenance. Now let's get into the product and see how to configure these repositories. So this is the management console of Desktop Central, where you can manage multiple features. So we'll go to the software deployment, and on the left pane under settings, you will have the software repository. So by default, the network share and HTTP repository path will be available. So you can choose to use this, or if you have your own share where you already manage the packages, you can update your own share with the credential that you use to access that share. Now the client computers which you deploy will use this credential to access the share location and execute the files from there. Same thing goes for HTTP as well. You can update your own location if required. So this is how the repositories will be configured. Now let's take a real-time scenario to explain the feature. So we have John and his team, and they are responsible for managing 10,000 endpoints across the globe. So now let's see his architecture and the task assigned to him and how he's going to achieve that. So he has the central server installed in his head office, which is in Dallas, and have multiple remote sites on Bogota, London, Chennai, and Sydney. So each remote site have different bandwidth, and few of them are connected over VPN, whereas Sydney has roaming users who connect over internet to the head office. Now, his first task is to deploy Microsoft Teams, which is a non-commercial application to all the computers in his network, all his remote sites. We'll get into the product and see how he's going to achieve the task. So when it comes to a non-commercial application, you don't have to go to the site to download the package, or you don't have to search for the silent arguments to proceed with the installation. So under templates, we have all these details already updated. So based on the request from our customers and the most downloaded rate applications will be added to our templates. We can check for Microsoft Teams. Yes, we have Microsoft Teams, and we have already updated it with the name, version, and what type of application it is, for which platform you're going to deploy it, and from where you can download it, the installation and uninstallation arguments to achieve the deployment silently. All these are predefined. You can simply click on Create Package to create the package and proceed with the deployment. Now you might have a question, what if the application which you look for is not in this list? So you can simply raise a request. So our engineering team will check on the feasibility to add it to our template list. Now we have created our Microsoft Teams package. Go to Package and search for it. To deploy, select the package and proceed with the deployment. Now we have two different options here, user as well as computer. So if you want to deploy the package to users, you can go with user, But here, our scenario is to deploy it to all the computers on his network. So select computer configuration, provide an appropriate name so that it would be easy for you to track on the status next time. And by default, the operation here is install. You can also choose to uninstall from the configuration. And the deployment will happen using the system account by default. You can, if you want to run this application, execute this application with an admin credential, yes, you can do that. You can select the admin credential and you can proceed with the deployment. So this would be useful for applications like AutoCAD, which requires an elevated privilege for the deployment. We also provide options to add multiple packages for a single configuration. And let's look at the scheduler settings now. Consider you're approaching a Patch Tuesday week. So you want this particular deployment to be happen on next week. So you can create the configuration now, and you can set a timer on the server to initiate the execution after a week using the install after option. Now, the server has been assigned with the time to initiate the execution, but how to assign the time for agents? All our agents are in multiple time zones, right? So to specify a preferred time to the agents, deployment policy will come into play. So let me create a deployment policy for Microsoft Teams. So name it. And from here, you can choose which week of the month and which days of the week you want to deploy this package, and also provide the preferred time. So I'm providing 10 to 3 p.m. as my schedule time. And you can choose to initiate the deployment either at a startup of the machine or the refresh cycle. I hope you remember about the 90 minutes refresh cycle, which we spoke earlier. And either of this, that is, whichever comes first within the window time, the deployment will be initiated. Then we have two useful pre-deployment settings here. You can enable the Wake Online features for Windows machine to wake up the machine and proceed with the deployment. Before enabling this, please make sure the predefined, you need to enable the BIOS level and the software level settings for Wake Online. And the next option here is to download the software and package during the subsequent refresh cycle. To understand this better, if I haven't chosen this option, then the packages will be copied to the client machines at 10 a.m. and then it will proceed with the execution. But if I have checked this option, then the packages will be copied as soon as the server executes the task. And when it reaches the deployment window, it will proceed with the execution. Then we have user notification. Enabling this will notify the end user regarding the deployment which is going to happen. You can also allow them to skip the deployment and set another time to force it. If you want the deployment to be happen completely silent, you can choose not to enable it. Finally, we have the reboot policy where you can reboot or shut down the machine once the deployment is completed. So I have already created a deployment policy for Microsoft Teams. Let me select the deployment policy, and the next section here is the target. So our task is to deploy to all the computers on the network. So select all for the deployment. Now, when a new machine is added to this particular remote site, at the domain, it will automatically receive this software. So what if a machine's getting added after a month and you already have an updated version of Microsoft Teams by then. So to avoid such scenarios, you can set an expiry for this task. So this will ensure after a month, whatever new machine added to this remote site will not receive this particular configuration. So using this, you can ensure that the computer is not getting an outdated package. So the target is set, and we have the execution settings, which is optional. So in case if a deployment is getting failed on a machine, for instance, if a package installation fails and if there is a dependency for that package, that is, a specific process has to be stopped before the installation. In such scenarios, retry on the startup will ensure that the application gets installed even before the process starts. By this way, we can ensure that the probability of getting the application installed is higher. We also have a notification settings. So you can enable the notification and update the administrator's email address to get the notification regarding the deployment. But before providing the email details, please make sure the mail server settings under admin mail server settings is configured properly to receive the emails. Once these settings are updated, you can deploy or proceed with deploy immediately. So deploy immediately is an on-demand execution, whereas if you go with deploy on the 90 minutes refresh cycle, agents will take the configuration. So this is how John achieves his first task. Now let's go for the second one. Deploying Office 365 to sales department. So Office 365, which is a commercial application, you want to deploy it to a specific group. We'll go back to the product. Even though it's a commercial application, what I would recommend is to go for the template and give it a search. So we have Office 365, but not with the download URL. We have a document which says how to proceed with the deployment. Since it's a licensed software, we don't provide the direct download URL. Instead, the document to achieve it will be provided. So how this task can be done? You need to download the deployment tool first from the Microsoft's website. So we have provided the URL. From the Microsoft website, download the tool. I have already downloaded the tool here. And the second step is to extract the contents of the exe. So to extract the contents, we have provided the command. So we'll go to the command prompt. We'll copy the command, go to the command prompt and execute it from here. So replace the file path with the downloaded path, that is the downloads, where we have the Office deployment tool and where you want to extract the files. So once the extraction is done, you will be getting the setup.exe and the configuration files for deployment. Now, you need to customize this configuration file before you download a package. Either you can edit and do the customization, or if you have an Office 365 login, you can log in and choose the required products, and you can download a configuration XML from there, and you can use that XML here. Now we have the extracted files, and we have done the customization as well. Next step is to download the package. Copy the command and execute it. So replace the path with the setup.exe path and the config file, which is nothing but these two files. Now, once the package is downloaded, you will have the cap files and the version files. So the next job is copy the setup and configuration along with the downloaded files. And now we are ready with the package. We can go to the web console to deploy this. So to deploy a package manually, go to package and click on add package. Here we have provided options to add a manual package for Windows and Mac. Provide the name of the package and package type. We support MSI and EXE based application installations. So our package is EXE. Select the EXE and the license type. Now, from where you're going to add this package. If you have a network share, yes, if you have a network share, you can go to the network share to access the package. So we have a command provided to achieve. So if it's a network share, you can provide the share details and call the setup.exe for execution. So update the path with your share path and you can proceed with the execution. Now, you want to deploy it to wide area network. You can go with the local computer option. So if you're going with the local computer option here, you need to zip the entire package. Select everything and compress the package and upload this compressed file to Desktop Central's package. Once the package is uploaded and you have created the package and you have pushed the package for deployment, the client will automatically extract it and it will proceed with the execution. So not only for installation, we do provide option to update the uninstallation argument. So you can provide the uninstallation argument to do the uninstallation for software. Under advanced settings, we have option to update exit code and the limit for the execution of software. So exit code is useful when you can see that the deployment is success on the machine, but on the console you're seeing it as failed. The reason here is the exit code by default for most of the softwares will be 0. In case few software which had a different exit code, even after successful installation, the written code will be different. So the status here will be failure. So in such cases, you can update the package with its own respective exit code. And the limit here is most of the software will complete the execution within 2 hours. But in the rare cases, if a software is taking more than 2 hours, the deployment will be called off if the setting is 2 hours. So in such cases, you need to update the limitation from here. So the other useful things which we have on a manual package creation is pre and post deployment activities. So in our scenario, we are going to deploy Office 365. But before the deployment, you want to make sure if the system drive have enough space to proceed with the deployment. Yes, you can do that. So you can choose the free disk space, pre-deployment condition, and you can check, you can provide the minimum space that should be available on the C drive. And you can save the setting. Now, only after checking the disk space, the installation will be proceeded. Similarly, post-deployment activities can also be added to the package. Once it's on successful deployment, you can make changes to registry, you can create or delete a shortcut, or you can run scripts to the client machines. So after making the necessary changes, add the package. So I have already created an Office 365 package. Let me choose to deploy it. So the same thing goes. You need to provide the name of the package. Then you need to select using which credential you want to proceed with the deployment. Once the selection is made, here, the next thing is the deployment policy. Choose the deployment policy for Office 365. And when it comes to target section, our requirement is to deploy only to a particular group. So if you have those group in your AD, as an OU or a group, you can choose it. If not, you don't have to worry about that. We have custom group, using which you can group the agent install machine from the server. So for example, under admin, you'll be having custom groups under global settings. So we provide 3 different types of groups here: static, static unit, and dynamic. So the difference here is a machine in one static group can also be available in another static group. So the static groups are usually for targeting the configurations, the software deployments, and patch deployment. But when it comes to static unit group, a computer in one static unit group will not be available in another static unit group. So this particular group is useful when you create a user to log into the Desktop Central console. So during user delegation, when you define a scope, this will ensure that each user will be managing a unique computer. And the dynamic group is based on the criteria. That is, if you want to group all the machines which has Windows 10 operating system, you can choose the criteria and save it. Now, when a Windows 7 machines get upgraded to Windows 10, or when a new Windows 10 machine is installed with an agent, each and every machine which comes under Windows 10 will be automatically updated to this group. Now I have created a static group for the sales team. So we can select the custom group and select the sales team group for deployment. Now, since it's a sales team, most of them are traveling around the world very often to meet the customers. So in such cases, for those users who connect over the corporate VPN, if you don't want to disturb them with a deployment during their customer visit, you can exclude the VPN range IP using the exclude target option. So you can select the IP range and provide your VPN range. Now those users will not be disturbed with the installation. So once they comes into the office, they'll be automatically installed with the software. So this is how the second task is achieved. So his third task here is, John is receiving a lot of help desk tickets to install various business applications. How can this be minimized? So to achieve this particular thing, we have a feature called self-service portal, in which you can publish the packages to end user. So under software deployment, you have a self-service portal. So here you can publish the package either as a computer or a user, and the target here is the custom group, which we spoke just now. So you can select the packages and drop the packages which you want to publish. Now, on the client end, where he can view these packages, so you can decide that under self-service portal. So you can enable the view on the agent tray as a desktop shortcut icon or on the start menu. So under agent tray, you have an option called self-service portal. So this will list the packages which you have published. The end user can install the software with a click of a button. Now, under self-service portal, you might have noticed 2 different categories. That is, installs without approval and requires an approval prior installation. So you will get this categorization if you have integrated Service Desk Plus, which is one of the other ManageEngine's application with Desktop Central. So you can do the integration from admin, Service Desk Plus settings. So if you're going to publish a commercial software, you can make use of the approval part over here. So the packages which is dropped under approval section will have a request option over here. So the end user should request the administrator's approval before the installation. He can type in the message and send the request, which will be created as a ticket on Service Desk Plus. On successful approval, the application will be installed on the client computer. So this is the self-service portal view and the request part. Now, how the workflow of the approval method works. When the client sends a request, Desktop Central server will forward the request and it will be created as a ticket under Service Desk Plus. When the technician validates and approves the request, the approval will be received by the Desktop Central and it will trigger the installation on client computers. So this would be the workflow of approval method. Now let's have a look at the common error message which you come across when you deploy a software. The system cannot find the path specified or access denied. So these are the common errors when you deploy a package with a network shared path. So in such scenarios, you need to ensure that the client can access the share path. You can go for the run prompt and you can type the path and you can check if the path is accessible from here. In case if it asks for a credential, make sure the credential which you have provided under the software repository is updated over there, and using that credential you can access the share to resolve such errors. The second error here is no silent switch or invalid silent switch. So for most of the EXE application, silent arguments are mandatory for deployment. In that case, you can go for the client machine and you can type the entire command which you are updating on a package, that is the exe name and the silent argument /qn or /reset. You can update it and you can execute it from here. So once that is done, you need to ensure that the application is getting installed silently without any prompt or pop-ups. If that is fine, you can use the same thing on the package. That would be a successful installation. So far, we have discussed about the real-time scenarios of and the errors which we come across software deployment. If you guys come across any questions, please feel free to use the chat option. We have an expert team available here who will answer all your questions. Let's move on to the next section, in which we will discuss on few interesting scenarios and solution that I came across in my support experience. The first thing here is there a way to base installation of dependency app? I have an app that needs a database install first. So to achieve this, now you're going to deploy a Wireshark app. So you can choose this app, go for the configuration. Before installing this app, you want a database to be installed first. So go for app package and choose the database which you are going to install. So I've chosen the Microsoft and add that as well. Now our task is to install the database first. So align it properly and you can deploy it. Now the deployment will happen based on the alignment done here. It will initially install the software and then the application will get installed. Second one here is I have a third-party application that does not support silent installation. How can I install it? So if you don't find a silent installation argument from a vendor site or the respective application site, you can open the command prompt and you can provide the exe name over here. You can go to the path, run the command prompt from the path where you have this setup and go for it. Now this will list you with the possible silent arguments. So using which you can find the silent arguments. So that would be the first thing. Or under Desktop Central, we have an option where you can provide the access to the end user to interact with the installation. So enabling this option will show a pop-up on the end user view, and they can choose to proceed with the installation. So the third option here is there are automating tools using which you can automate the installation of a package, and you can create scripts with that tool. So you can add that script along with the exe and you can deploy it. So these three methods can be used to achieve the second scenario. The third one is I have a set of applications including MS Office and CRM deployed for my sales team. I want all new salespeople to have these applications installed on their computers automatically. How can I achieve this? So you're going to install multiple packages like this. And when you go for a target, select the sites and target it either as an organizational unit and a group in which all your sales technicians are added. So once this configuration is deployed, whenever a new person comes into that group or OU, to enable the automatic installation, you need to go for configuration settings. Enabling this setting will do the job. So when a computer or a user is added to an OU or group, it will be applied with the configuration on its next startup or during the refresh cycle. So enabling this option will automatically install the packages to the newly added machines to that OU or a group. I tried to deploy a business app to a computer, but it failed. Is there a way to troubleshoot it myself? Yes, you can do that. So let's take you're going to deploy a Skype app to your network computers. It's an MSI app, and before you create a package, make sure this option, enable login for troubleshooting, is checked. So once this is checked, it will create a log file of that application. So using this log file, you can check the reason for the deployment error and you can troubleshoot it yourself. Scenario 5 is when I create a package using template, what happens if a new version of application is released? So to handle the newly updating softwares, we have a feature introduced recently, which is auto update packages, auto update templates. So the software which you create from the templates, you can enable this option. So select enable auto updates and select the software which you would want to enable it. So once this is added, whenever a new version comes in, Desktop Central will automatically create a software and it will add it to the packages. And the interesting part here is, if you have published that packages through self-service portal, the old package would be automatically removed and it will be updated with the new package which was created. So sixth one is, can we perform Windows 7 to Windows 10 upgrade using software deployment? Yes, you can achieve this. So we have a separate document which explains the Windows 7 to 10 upgrade, in which you need to download an ISO and you need to extract the files and proceed with the deployment. So if you're The same thing goes. The manual package created for the Office 365, right? So you need to create a package like that and you can proceed with the deployment. So to activate the key, if you are using volume license sender, you can use this command, auto upgrade command, to activate it. This command should be provided on the installation argument when you create the package. So we are at the end of our session. Let's finally look at the most frequently asked questions regarding software deployment. What if I don't have a self-service portal link on the menu? How can I find it? So if you don't find the menu on agent side, you need to go for the self-service portal settings and make sure you have enabled any of these options. But if you don't find those options on the server itself, then you might be using a professional edition of license. So self-service portal is available on enterprise and UEM edition. To ensure which edition you are using, click on license. That will help you with the license type which you are using. How do you monitor the status of deployment? Like how many workstations have installed versus how many remaining or failed. So to check on the status, we have an option here called View Configurations. So this will list all the configurations which you have created. You can simply select the name, which will list you with the summary and the target which you have defined. Under configuration details, you can see which package is targeted on this configuration, and the execution status will help you with the details of the computers in which you have deployed. And one of the useful part here is the Save as Template option. So if you save this configuration as template, you can go to Configuration, and under Templates view, you have a user-defined option. So this will list the template which we create from configuration. So the next time when you're going to deploy the same configuration, you don't have to do that from scratch. You can simply create a configuration from here. Now your only job is to add the new target and deploy it. If you're using a secure gateway server in our setup, do the external client still need to connect to the HTTP portal for software, or can they directly go to the network share via secure gateway? So when you have a roaming user, it is recommended to go with the HTTP or HTTPS portal, because network share will not be accessible outside your network, and exposing the share outside the network will be vulnerable as well. So it is recommended to go with the HTTP method. If I want my software packages to be replicated to remote office, how do I achieve it? So to replicate it, if you're targeting a configuration, consider I'm targeting this configuration to my entire domain over here. Now the packages will be replicated to all the remote office which comes under this domain, where there could be chances the target machine which I'm looking for will not be in one of the remote office. But to avoid this, you can target the required remote office, and then you can filter out and select the computers. Now the packages will be replicated only to these remote office and the computer which you have specified. Question 5 is, when multiple software are deployed in sequence, if the first package failed, does it attempt to continue? How is notification sent back? If the first package fails, the configuration would be called off. So to notify about this, you can enable the notification settings so that When it causes the first failure, the administrator will be notified about the deployment and he can take immediate action. Question success. If you configure a schedule and the computer is not online at the time of schedule, will it be in queue to install when the computer comes online? So you have a policy from 10 a.m. to 12 p.m. and the machine is down during the 10 a.m. to 12 p.m. Now the machine comes up after 12. It will take the next available window and proceed with the deployment. That is the next day, 10 a.m. And if you want to have an immediate deployment, you can create a policy with an open window and you can go for deploy immediately from here. So the 7th question is, we have 11 technician license on Service Desk Plus, and we have only 1 technician license on Desktop Central. Is it possible to set the self-service portal with only 1 technician license on Desktop Central? Yes. So the technician license will not count for the self-service portal here. So it is required to have a similar user technician detail when you integrate Service Desk Plus with Desktop Central. So once that is done, you can make use of the other features available in self-service portal. Here we have come to the end of today's training. Hope this training session was useful. Please to share your feedback and rate us on the scale of 1 to 5, where 5 is the best. And if you guys like the training, please do spread a word on the social media platforms as well. This is our training schedule for asset management. We have it on November 6th. And if you like to have a personalized demo about the entire product, you can leave your email address to our chat panel, or you can enroll yourself on the URL which is mentioned on the bottom of the screen. Thank you all for your participation. Have a nice day.